Gilmore Gang. I'm Steve Gilmore, and it's a rare Sunday in 2021.
Yeah.
All right.
Usually on Fridays.
Yes.
Today and Sunday.
And we promise to consider airing this one at a later date. So welcome to, in the great state of Georgia, Brent Leary.
I am fully vaccinated, and I'm glad to be so.
And any side effects?
Yeah, it was really terrible yesterday, but today's a new day. It's a good day.
All right. Can you raise your little level, Brent?
Raise it?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a tad? Just a little
Yeah.
bit? Is that good? Is that
Yeah,
too
that's
much?
excellent. In the state of Massachusetts is Dennis Pombriant.
Greetings, Earthlings. How are you all? Oscars tonight.
Woo!
Yeah, socially distanced, I'm sure.
Just like us.
Well, no, more like
We have thousands of miles between us.
Where? Why do you care? I thought you didn't watch television.
Well, Oscars are for the movies.
Yes.
Steve?
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. So,
And at what point do movies become television?
well, that's what this group figures out. I don't know.
It's the window is down to like 17 days, I believe.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
The half-life of a movie, 17 days.
And our official arbiter of all things media is in New York, live from New York, is Frank Radis.
Howdy, Steve. Howdy, gangsters. I ponder that question: when's the TV and movies make it together? And they have, and that's Netflix that did that. And say the lines are blurring. I actually think they're getting sharper. But that's worth discussing.
Also in California, that would mean me and Tina, and Keith's here. Welcome, Keith.
Nice to be here. Shall I mess Tina up again?
I'm glad you enjoy that because I have no idea what that means.
Because it's lower thirds on top of lower thirds.
No, I get that part, but what does it say? Can you see it?
It says Chief Impact Officer.
There you go. And what does that mean?
Well, because our royal family has got one now, I thought we should have one too.
Oh, and what do they do with that office?
They make Chief Impact, whatever that is.
Is that the formerly the Office of First Impressions?
No, I think it was the office of the weird walk.
I can use a
Billy walk.
I can use an obscure English word to tell you what it is. It's a sinecure.
Ooh.
Who knows what a sinecure?
Does it come with a pension?
I have no idea, but sinecure, I do know what that means.
Oh, dude.
No, that would be Duday to you.
Dude.
Is that like the opposite or the inverse of a cosinecure?
All right, does anybody know what decacorn means?
I know who took trigonometry.
That would be the cousin of the semicolon.
Yeah. So there.
Wow.
Okay, well, you can't get this kind of value anywhere.
No.
Thank
No.
you.
And who would want to?
There you go. We're in sneak peek territory now. We're not there yet, but we're moving in on it.
God, I try not to. I don't even think about that.
Okay, and last but not least, from the great state of that thing with the Seattle Tower, is Michael Markman.
You do. I'm here. I'm a lesser impact officer, but I am an impact officer.
Okay, now that we've named the show, we can finish. So I'm not allowed to do this, but what do you guys want to talk about?
I'm going to give you Apple as an option, given that they had a big show on Tuesday.
Not big enough though.
Why not? Oh, you didn't get your MacBook Pro 15.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was interested in. The M1X MacBook Pro 16. Not a peep. Not a word.
There's
Patience Padawan is coming.
my prediction is there will not be a post M1 chip until October.
Yeah, that just doesn't. I'm not pleased with that. Let's put it like that.
And my guess is at that moment when there is a post M1 chip, everything that is currently an M1 chip will get upgraded to it, and it's going to become an annual upgrade. The chip itself.
What do you mean become?
Really?
Well, they've only just done the first one, so from now on, M1 will become M something else every year. I'm predicting.
Wow.
Heard it here first, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have anything else to say about Apple?
Yeah, I thought there were some interesting nuggets in there. I know people are looking for the big Mac Pro, but the tags, the Air tags that they produced are coming just in time for me to lose my short-term memory for where I left things. So I thought that's just in time product launch. And I think I would appreciate the redesign of the TV remote.
Yeah.
You would if you had one?
When I eventually get one, yes. I mean, frankly, I've learned how to use the badly designed current model, so I'm not that eager to get the new one. But I think I'll appreciate it when I get it.
It should be voice. It should be a voice anyway.
I just upgraded mine to the new software that includes the feature where you point your phone at the TV screen and it gets all the colors calibrated. And then from that moment onwards, your Apple TV is optimizing your screen. And it makes a huge difference.
I would just like to be able to point the phone at the TV and get rid of the damn remote.
You can. There is a remote
you
app
can,
on your
yeah.
phone. You can do that now if you want.
It's
You don't-
very low powered.
No, you don't even need to do the remote app anymore. If you swipe down from the top right on your phone, there's a built-in feature which is an Apple TV remote now.
But that's only if you have an Apple TV. And then how do you get all the channels into the Apple TV?
You don't do that on the phone. You do that on the TV itself.
Oh, I see. So the TV, you have to actually go over there.
No, you sit with your phone and you swipe left and right and click on what you want to watch.
Yeah, but as long as it's going through Apple TV,
Correct.
Well, what else would it go through?
all the other stupid boxes that are hanging off of the TV.
Oh, you want a universal remote on your phone?
No, I want a phone that does universal remote.
Yeah, I
This
get it.
is fascinating.
I get it.
Hey,
No, it's not.
it's just your fault, Frank.
Just-
Going
I know,
back
I'm
to
just-
the last show before the last show.
I'm just watching. I'm listening. I'm, gathering
Once you-
data.
Once you have an Apple TV, to be honest, your HDMI stays on the same thing all the time because it's got everything on it. You never need to use any other device. What other device would you even use?
The horrible Comcast remote.
No, you got to dump Comcast.
Yeah, how do you dump it?
Streaming, dude.
I mean-
Streaming.
We're not all into, what is it called?
YouTube TV.
So Peak TV.
Cord
Gotta
cutting.
love YouTube TV, man.
YouTube TV it kicks Comcast butt.
I just got in. The very first thing I did when I landed and got into my apartment in New York was to make sure that I downloaded YouTube TV into my TV sets. So it's funny because I download them into the TV and I use just the Wi-Fi that's installed in my flat, and I have absolutely no cable in here, and it's all television antenna or Wi-Fi. Everything, and almost everything is on YouTube TV anyway.
So who provides your internet service to your Wi-Fi?
In New York, it's Spectrum, which I guess used to be Time Warner.
Charter cable.
Yeah, Spectrum, they're good
I have them. I hate
throughout
them.
the South.
That's another story.
I can
I
tell
have some
that-
friends now who are getting their internet through 5G in their apartment buildings in downtown LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
There's a
that's-
special antenna on the roof, and the whole building is it gets high-speed internet through Wi-Fi.
This
Yeah.
is a 5G hotspot for T-Mobile, and I could do that, except I've got AT&T fiber. This is for when I travel. I take it with me.
There you go. The world
You
of the
know,
future. It's-
and then there's the ATSC 3.0. You get that, and you get 5G, and there's so many ways to get your content into your screen now that doesn't require a standard cable.
YouTube
Crickets.
TV, you heard it here
Yeah.
first. They should be sponsoring us, dude.
They should.
Do they?
What's sponsor? What does that mean?
It means
They
they pay us
put their
money.
logo on the coffee cups you distribute to us. That's what it would mean.
Yeah, like you mean the ones he sent us?
This one?
Yeah.
There it is. But at least I got
Well,
you
all the
off
cool kids
shirt.
have brand deals. You know
Well,
that we're just too old to get brand deals. That's the problem.
We have to set a new paradigm. Oh, the geezers.
I do think
Or-
I do think Apple has confused the hell out of so many people, because the top end iPad Pro can cost up to, without a keyboard, can cost $2,400.
What?
Add another, yeah. If you get the 2 terabyte, 16 gig of memory version, 2 terabyte storage, 16 gig of memory version, it gets over $2,000, and then the keyboard's $350. And the MacBook Pro with the same M1 chip in and the same spec is cheaper. So the screen, which is Apple's words are brightness, 1,000 nits going to 1,600 nits. The screen obviously is a big part of the reason for that on the 12.9 inch one. But the iPad Pro is now the most expensive M1 Mac by far.
Oh,
I just think I must have misheard you. Did you say the keyboard was $350?
Yeah,
The Magic keyboard.
The Magic keyboard.
That ain't magic. That's tragic keyboard. Who wants to pay that much for a keyboard?
It's
Not me.
Well,
awesome.
it's not just a keyboard, it's also a hinge
That
for
was
the
Apple.
screen.
No, it's all you are going to get with the, what is it, 14-inch iPad? Yeah,
12.9.
until they release the M2 chip that isn't coming.
So
That's just too big.
So I'm going to buy one. I'm going to pretend to buy one now. 2 terabytes. Do you want cellular? Yes, we'll do cellular. I'm already at $23.99.
wow.
What else can you add?
That's MacBook Pro pricing at this point.
Yeah, and now if I want a keyboard, that's another $350. So it's going to go to $2,700, and that is more than 3 times more expensive than the MacBook Pro with the M1 in.
Get the Gucci case.
They didn't think this one out. Who's going to want
No,
to pay that much
they
money?
did. Well, they did think it out. There's all these interviews with Joswiak, I think he's called, Greg Joswiak. There's one on TechCrunch, and they're really trying to position this MacBook Pro as the right place for developers to put pro software. So I think what that means is expect Final Cut Pro to go on it. It also plugs into their $5,000 screen, 6K, and runs it. So they're basically building a professional touchscreen platform, totally separate from the MacBook platform, and not trying to turn. Everyone's saying, "Well, isn't it the same thing?" Well, no. Their answer is no. The software on this and what you can do with it is going to be totally different than what you do on a Mac.
I thought they were going to position themselves as the people who made the computer that was just too much. It seemed like at the end there was so many stories that people wrote about this computer just may be too much. Who says that?
No, nobody.
No, there were stories. I thought it was funny. So, somebody said that it was why? Maybe it's what Brent is saying. Why?
Well,
Remember, the people who write stories are not necessarily the people who use all of the features that you need for video editing and image
Yeah,
editing.
you're right.
There are people who could be satisfied with a very low end word processor. They can have a TRS-80 and get their needs filled.
well, the
That's
other
true.
thing, the other thing they've done is they've put a Thunderbolt 4 port, not just a USB port, which the old iPad Pro had. And with a Thunderbolt 4 port, you can plug in, like RAID arrays. So it really can fit into a professional shared studio environment. You can put 10 gig Ethernet on it. So they're really trying to turn it into a work machine of choice.
The
Still, of course,
the
they
interesting thing in the whatever that show was that they had was they're focusing on LumaSoft or LumaTouch or LumaFusion, whatever it's actually called.
The third one.
Yeah.
One.
And that's what we use to post-produce this show, for example. And the LumaFusion is steaming right past Final Cut because they've gone to this interesting model that they're going to announce at the WWDC, which is where they're going to introduce in-app purchases of additional functionality. That's why this platform is serious.
Yep. And multicam as well, by the way.
Well, that's one of the things that they're introducing at an additional cost.
Yeah.
So that opens up the possibility of backporting to the MacBook Pro, which is what they will do.
I think in many ways the top iPad is a stalking horse for the new MacBook Pro, which will then become the platform of choice for professional creators. But you'll have an option.
How many people like the phrase creators? Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Well, the reason it exists is because of all the different forms of media delivery that people can leverage these days. So a podcaster or video logger doesn't really cut it. So they needed a container phrase that brings everything in.
Yeah, it's called newsletters.
Yeah, unfortunately, it sounds very Ayn Randish.
It's called producers, actually.
Yeah.
People who
And-
produce.
Yeah.
Found
Makers
here.
and takers. Are we going back to makers and takers?
Substack
exactly.
Substack did announce this week. They didn't announce it, but in an interview, they disclosed that they're planning to bring video into Substack. So the newsletter will not just be a newsletter. Obviously, it's going to be
Right. And that interview, so-called, was a Clubhouse session with Josh Constein.
Yeah, that's right.
So the media has now been disrupted completely.
We talked about that very early on, Steve, about the inclusion of video and what position that would take inside the newsletter world. And I've been trying to add certain elements of video to mine outside things that have been produced and are already available online. These are things that either I made myself or were made for me or have stories to tell. But it's part of, making the newsletter environment work in the video environment for me.
And can you elaborate as to how does it work in the?
Well, in the case of what I'm doing with it, it's just adding media, and in this case, it's pre-recorded, pre-edited content that I will have done, as opposed to stuff that I would have gotten somewhere else. So there's now an outlet in the newsletter for original content. I think that's sort of what we're saying.
Dennis, you've got two newsletters currently, one on sustainability and one on CRM. What do you think the impact of newsletters on enterprise, analysts is going to be, or is it already happening?
I'm not sure. I think to a degree it's already happening. One of the things that I've learned curating my newsletter is just how much good research there is in the world that's not being covered. And if I can do a little bit to help promote some of it to a larger audience, I'm really happy about that. I think it makes the conversation in whether you're talking about sustainability or you're talking about front office software, it makes the conversation richer.
And does it impact on what you do in terms of research and studies of that kind of nature?
It hasn't yet, but it certainly gives me new ideas about what to pursue. It also, I mean, you always have to look at these things with a critical eye, and sometimes you look at a piece of research and you say, "Oh God, I don't know if I would have done it that way," or they didn't include the market leader in the study. Why not? And so you want to avoid those kinds of mistakes, or but on the flip side, it gives you something to write about in the newsletter. I mean, I curate a lot, but I also write a lot, so it gives me something to point out.
I think that's really an important, aside from the fact that you curate in a direction that is yours alone, that is, you've chosen that brand to represent what that newsletter is, sustainability. So it's a single topic, single focus. That's representative of who you are. The next level of that is your own original writing. And I think all that becomes, for somebody who does a lot of video creation, is addition of video. But the idea of there's this app that turns your typewritten word, your text, into voice, which I find to be really fascinating. And what are the options that could be done with that? So you could have a story with a voice embed in it and a piece of natural video in it, and now you've created something that's sort of akin to a very small little newscast.
Yeah. Although I mean, the overhead involved in creating the video and creating the audio is still pretty
A lot of
high.
work.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a staff, if you're a
Yeah.
cat and you have staff, that's fine.
Everyone works for the cat. This new M1 chip Pro sounds like the perfect tool for the next generation of news gatherers in the newsletter space. Becomes a all-in-one tool.
Yeah.
Maybe a little big. I'd probably choose for the 13-inch.
And then on the other side, the work that Brent's doing with Paul to actually get live interviews with people is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
It'd be great if you could somehow munge it all together, but that'd be kind of unwieldy too.
It'd be great if we could get Brent to comment on that.
Brent, if you do,
We're still in the first half hour.
Brent, if you do, would you please use the other camera? Thank you.
Oh, what, this one?
That one. Yeah.
Wow.
That's your that. That could be
That's
your
the LumaFusion. What is it? Paramount. What's the name of that box that you?
A10 Mini.
HM Mini Express
right, yeah.
Pro Extreme.
He's
I
got,
brought the wrong computer here. I can't even buy new stuff. to
he's got
attach
the
to.
A10 Maxi.
All right, Keith. That's a good one. All right. So what am I supposed to comment
Boys.
on now? I kind of forgot.
Oh, there was a Mr. Segway over here on the right suggested that he's on the right for me.
I was saying that the work that you do interviewing people live is extremely valuable. It'd be great to munge it all together with some of the other things that we do in newsletters, but it would be Still a Herculean task.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much work was involved with video. I might not have done it. I mean, it's like, because you think about writing, there's this, a significant amount of effort and time that goes into writing really good stuff.
Ugh.
And sometimes for me, writing, I have, a lot of ideas, and I really mean to write about a lot of this stuff, but by the time like I try to, another idea pops up. And I'm like, oh, then you realize that you're not putting out anything, even though you have all this stuff in your head. And I always, it just seemed to me that doing video and having these conversations, it allows me to put out more than I ever would by writing. But the flip side of that is, if you really want to optimize the impact that your video can have, it's more than just turning on the camera and talking, because it's almost sort of like a fleeting thing if you don't leverage it after the camera goes off. You like Tina's doing, like creating those snippets.
That's
Post-production.
that's why universities have lectures and then seminars, or at least British ones do. I think it's the same here, where you hear a narrative from the lecturer, then you go into classes of like 8 and spend an hour discussing it, and you don't actually write anything until right at the end when it's all clarified, and then you get tested through writing. So it feels to me as if humans really enjoy a narrative, an interaction, a discussion, and then clarity, and then writing. And usually, I know for me, I can't write until those ideas are completely worked out. And then when I do write, I can write a long thing in like half an hour that's completely logical. But if I tried to write before, I'd spend hours in writer's block.
Oh, I've done that a lot, and like you're right. I think it works that way for me. Somebody could tell me that they need me to write something by this date, and I'll be lucky if I hit that date, because I
hate
can't.
that.
I know until I have it all worked out in my head, and sometimes it takes longer. I can never. I don't have a formula for getting that worked out in my head.
Talking.
But
I made
is
a
the
big
formula.
mistake. I made a big mistake with a client recently, where I signed up to a guaranteed X number of words twice a month within 6 topics that they present. And I thought, oh, I can do that. And then like after the first one, it was, what the hell did I do? And then like after the third one, it was like, I can't write anymore. I have no more stories to tell. It was the worst decision I ever made. I finally said, you know what? I'll see you guys, man. I can't do this anymore. It's hard enough to write when you have something to write about, let alone when you actually don't have anything to write about. You have to write it.
I think reading and talking are the two raw materials for writing.
Oh yeah, I think I would make it. I would want to say talking and reading, but talking is listening, and so I think you're right. I think you're right.
But then you realize
that's why Clubhouse, I think, sort of worked in the beginning. But it's funny, the numbers, and I'm not quite sure why, seem to have stalled on their subscriptions. And it may
This
have
is my
something to do
favorite.
with-
My favorite meme is that Clubhouse is stalled.
Well, I mean, if in terms of reality, they did stall, but in terms of reality, they also got like 4 or 5 big players jump into the space, and so did that hurt people who might have subscribed to Clubhouse, or I don't know. I don't really think you can piggyback on a handle on Clubhouse. I think I think you have to be a part of Clubhouse.
This reminds me of the former president starting his own TV network. How's that going?
Interestingly enough, this week, I don't know if this happened to you guys, but I got notified on Twitter on Monday that Kara Swisher and Casey Newton were going live with some show, and on Spaces, and I joined Spaces to listen in for a bit. And Kara's fairly entertaining and pretty cutthroat. I stayed for about 10 minutes. There were 350 people in the room. Then the next day I got pinged for the Josh Constine show. I don't know if it was the next day, but later in the week, that Steve mentioned. And I joined that. There were like 800 people in the room when I joined. And it seems like the scale of these things, it's almost like a live conference with total interaction. It is totally novel, and it never really existed before. I'm actually shy to put my hand up if I'm not a guest speaker, so I've never have. But I feel as if I did, it would be okay. I just haven't wanted to do it in the environment. So you do tend to get the audience and the speakers bifurcation that you get in real live conferences. And even though you've got the technical ability to get rid of that line between the two, I don't know that anyone is really leveraging that yet.
Well, look, the anonymity, or the sort of the pseudo anonymity of it is attractive to people, and in a lot of cases will allow people who might not otherwise want to be encouraged to become engaged in the conversation, to actually open up and have something to say, because they know nobody's looking at them. I think that's one thing, and I think that certainly helps a lot.
The other thing that happened this week, this is a bit outside of the ballpark, but BitClout, which I mentioned last week, which is this Twitter-like platform where you have a price on your head that people can buy your shares, announced that they have perfected the software so that anyone can run a BitClout node. And if you do choose to do it, and you have to be a geek to do it, you can filter the fire hose down to the people and the topics you're interested in being on your node. So you can actually build subsets of the total content. It's like taking a piece of Twitter and having your own Twitter that's only got the stuff in that you're interested in.
Yeah, that's called Track, and just can't wait until they take that away.
I don't know.
Well, I think it's more lists than track.
Oh no, lists are bogus. Track is the ability to track based on @ mentions. It's the core of the Twitter network, and they've isolated that, held it back. Interestingly, I was once doing a Gilmore Gang session at a conference in Paris. I think it was Le Web, and Jack Dorsey was one of the gang, and I was at the time, as I continue to be, saying, when do we get Track back? And his comment was, yeah, he likes Track too. So Jack, what year is it? I mean, seriously, the APIs are how Twitter is controlling this. Is it going to become I think the chances of BitClout getting control of this kind of personalized AI version of Twitter are right there.
No, I don't disagree. Although I do think,
unless they're acquired, which is what they're probably trying to do.
Well, the one thing I'd say, I think I totally agree with that, but I do think we're at this tipping point moment in blockchain where the applications are starting to appear, and the marriage of monetization and volume and throughput is from a software point of view kind of figured out. So now the question is, what will be built that will take off, that combines those elements? And if that happens, then all the debate about advertising versus sponsorships versus subscribers will disappear.
Along with what, 10% of the value?
I don't know. It's nowhere near 10%. It's like 1,000.
So it's like 55 down to what, 40 2 days ago? I'm not saying it's going to not go back up.
Oh, you mean
I'm just
Bitcoin?
saying-
No, it's at 50K now.
So I have a question about this. That was, Keith, you tell me. Was there not a period of time in the Bitcoin blockchain debate conversation that was having, where it was really hot, and then it seemed to just sort of disappear from the public consciousness for a while, and then it came right back up again with NFTs. Anyway, it came right
Wait,
back.
you
right
got to
back up
pass.
again.
Dennis did not hear that.
He didn't, thank God. And it just sort of plateaued there. And that's sort of where we are now. Am I wrong? Is that what happened?
Well, if you look at it through the prism of value, yes, you're right. But if you look at it through the prism of software steps forward and what you can build on it, that down quiet period was actually incredibly productive.
Hmm.
So
it did
period
exist.
is
It
not
wasn't-
just a reflection of value. I think it's also a reflection of the amount of talking that people were doing about it. When it was very new, it got a lot of attention, and then it went into a quiet period where people took their eyes off it. In general, I mean, the mass media took their eyes off it,
Yeah.
and now it's emerged again as the unavoidable topic.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, okay. So there you go.
But it never really disappeared. I mean, to
Learn something every
to
day,
Keith's
right? Here,
point.
Steve?
Yeah, let me look at my meme cloud app and see how these things are going. It looks like Clubhouse is now acceptable, at least for 5 seconds. And Bitcoin, gee, I'm not sure.
Where are the cats? Where are cats?
Cats never go away.
No, cat memes. Come on, you can't
Okay.
beat them, right?
Enough of all this tech talk. Let's talk about politics.
Oh, okay. I got one for you. Can we get away from using the term woke? I never liked it to begin with, but
Gladly.
I'll tell you,
totally agree. Explain that to me, would you please? Woke.
I can never do that. But the reason that I find it necessary to take a stand this morning, or now it's this afternoon, but I was watching one of those, Sunday shows. I can't remember which one, and they played a clip of that guy, John Kennedy, the senator in Louisiana, and he
Oh yeah.
used the term, and I'm not kidding. He used this term, wokeristas. What the hell is that? Wokeristas.
Is that
Wokeristas.
like
He was
the-
trying to be witty. He's trying to, be funny and all that. Wokeristas.
So like a barista?
I don't know what the hell it is, to be quite honest, but it's just a terrible use of a word that I didn't like to begin with.
It's a
Wokeristas.
It's a really hard place to go because woke is the positive reaction to identity politics. In other words, when somebody stresses their identity as being key and your acceptance of it being key, you are woke if you don't question that, or you embrace it even and expand on it and amplify it. So there's kind of now anti-woke is both usually intolerance. Anti-woke normally is, I'm a racist, I don't like gay people, I don't like transvestites, blah, 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 blah. So you can't be anti-woke because you're basically putting yourself in the camp of racism.
I just don't like the word. I'm sorry. It's not
Yeah.
about the definition. I know what it's meant. The woke. I just don't like that word. I don't know what it is about that. It just sounds, it's like, and then you throw wokerista. It just sounds so contrived. It's like somebody came up with something and we'll use this word for a really good meaning. I just don't like the name. The word.
It's also passive. Being woke means I'm not your problem, but it doesn't mean I'm your solution. So being woke is like a passive statement of who you are.
I mean, I looked out and she was there.
It's the opposite of being an activist. Being an activist is doing something about it. And so I think you're right to react against the word, but also against the limited value of being it.
The word is originated in Harlem in black slang. in the
I know.
60s. And it has migrated into a political term of wide usage, and then it becomes mocked. It's like today's version of political correctness, which became a term of mockery. So now woke is, which started as being aware, is now
Right.
is now seized by the right wing as a way of parodying and demeaning the notion of being aware. As
But you
Keith
know, what's
says.
interesting.
Well, that's what the right wing always does.
Brett just doesn't like the word, people.
Steve, your turn.
It's all right. The word has peaked. It's on its way out. You know, when,
No,
when it
I
gets
think
into Ron Johnson's vocabulary,
yeah,
it's
Ron
time for
Johnson
guru.
and John Kennedy and their wokeristas. It's time to let it go at this point. It served its purpose. Let's move on. Let's find something else because they just killed that word. I'm sorry. I just can't take it. When I see John Kennedy of all people on a Sunday morning show talking about wokeristas, it's time to let it go. It's really time.
I agree.
Yeah.
That means it's just getting started.
Yeah, no, it's very good. It's impassioned.
No.
It's,
It's just
No?
getting started. It's not impassioned.
Ugh.
It's the only place that the Republicans have to go right now.
Mm.
I mean, they can't talk about politically correct if politically correct translates into, oh, you mean government could work? We could vaccinate 200 million people?
I'm sorry. I just got taken off course there because Dennis's cat came home after 24 hours. That's
Oh,
beautiful.
that's
knew?
excellent.
And of course,
Wasn't there a
Michael-
song about that? The cat came back.
that came
Not in my generation. I don't know.
that came back.
But
I
I have
like
spares.
Michael's comment was they do that, don't they?
Yeah. Well, this one hasn't been out a lot since we got her a year ago, and we let her out in the backyard yesterday. It was a nice day, and she was having a good time, and then all of a sudden she went AWOL.
Big mistake. So you're looking a lot happier now.
It's about cats.
It's all about cats,
Things you can learn from your cat is exceedingly interesting.
They all know where their food dish lives, and when they miss it enough, they come back.
Yeah, but the problem we have is that there are several food dishes in
That's true.
different locations.
Yeah, it's almost like an Easter egg hunt every day.
We have
Is that cat heaven?
We have
or is
neighbors
that cat
who
hell?
we have neighbors who
to feed our cats.
are like grandparents. They basically do what they want and, and then leave. Not responsible. No problem.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Okay.
you inherited?
Pardon?
And you inherited? Did they just leave the kitties and you ended up taking?
No, no, no,
Our
no, no.
cats,
This
they
is on
feed
a-
them.
This is on a constant basis. At least, well, I'm not going to get
Explain
into
it.
it.
There are cats who go outside and then others like to feed them.
Hmm.
Well, the dog
know,
doesn't do that.
Honestly, this just proves the point. It really is. As soon as you start talking about cats or showing them, that's it. That's it. Right, Dennis? That's it.
Absolutely.
It
Look,
kind of
look,
knocked the
look.
top off of your head, Frank. It blew your mind.
I wonder why. Why is that? What is that?
It's light. It's light. Light can't travel up there.
Ooh, watch this.
Is
So,
this what happens
Michael,
when-
Michael, it's time for you to
Like
interrupt.
beaming in from a Star Trek episode, Frank.
Frank's jet lag is taking the form of dementia right in front of our eyes.
See, we don't have to worry about old memes.
We're young.
Yeah. And so,
You're as young as your meme.
Michael, it's time for you to interrupt with
You know, when Carson did that,
Tangent.
nobody said anything, Steve.
What?
When Carson did that, nobody said anything.
What he did what?
When he cracked up at his own stuff.
Yeah, well, Carson was a genius.
Oh, okay.
And
Jesus.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're right. But still, when it is funny, it's funny.
Oh, yeah. Michael,
Yes, sir.
time for your interruption.
See, it's hardly an interruption. I have a tangent. How about a tangent?
Yeah,
Excellent.
I said that.
How
Right.
about or a loop back?
boy, we're doing all kinds of trigonometry
in
today.
the New Yorker,
Sines and
published on Earth
cosines.
Day, a wonderful piece on the environmental damage of blockchain and Bitcoin.
And lots,
All
and
that.
lots of counter reaction to that as well.
Yes. Crazy.
Sure,
Some
there
people are
was.
saying it does not hurt the environment. Others are saying it's too much and it will. And they're all just as passionate about either side. It's crazy. It's just
Okay,
like
so
Here's my question. Here's my question.
Okay, but I wanna-
people.
I want to tee up Keith for the answer. Go ahead.
Well, so the article points out that the energy consumption of mining on blockchain is about equivalent to the energy consumption of Sweden. And now people are saying blockchain is bad because it uses as much energy as Sweden. I wonder why nobody is saying that Sweden is bad because it uses as much energy as blockchain.
Now there's a sneak peek.
that's a great
Okay, so
argument.
now for the real answer, Keith.
Well, use of energy is a precondition for everything. So you can't decide that something is good or bad because it uses energy. You decide if it's good or bad based on what it does with the energy it uses. So what does Bitcoin do with the energy it uses? Well, it's currently got hundreds of millions of people to not have declining dollars or other currencies in their pocket because they chose to put it into Bitcoin. Therefore, their wealth has been maintained. So that energy takes the form of wealth in wallets that hold Bitcoin. And so the energy is being used for something. But that wasn't the response that was given this week. The other response, which I'm more dubious about, is that Bitcoin will drive forward the use of renewable energy because miners are starting to, for example, one of the biggest mines now is in Iceland and it's using thermal energy. And they're saying that's the norm. Wind energy, sun energy, thermal energy will be what Bitcoin mines will look for, and therefore will not be damaging to the environment, but actually will accelerate the trend away from carbon energy.
At what point did anybody else completely lose track of what Keith was saying?
Got the first sentence in. But, yeah.
I'm following it. I just don't agree with it. Totally.
Ah.
Oh, even better.
First of all, there is an upper limit to how much Bitcoin will ever be mined. Is that not right? So
That is right, but there'll still be verification of transactions after that.
all right. Well, using your analogy, what's the difference between the energy invested in verifying the transaction and making a tire for your car? I mean, they both provide economic value. I don't see the point of singling out Bitcoin for anything. And also, the amount of energy that's being used to make Bitcoin is really small on the scale of things. I don't have exact numbers, but my lights aren't dimming because my neighbor's mining Bitcoin. Let them. The fact that geothermal energy is being used could only be a good thing. Wind, solar, geothermal. I mean, if we find ways of harnessing or bringing those kinds of generating capacities online, that can only be a good thing down the road for all of us.
All right, I'm gonna say something really stupid because I haven't really been following this stuff. You make it sound like you say if your neighbor is mining Bitcoin, like he's out in his yard with pick and shovel, actually looking for something. That can't possibly be what's happening, right? I mean, when you say mining Bitcoin, what the hell does that mean? Because
So I'll
we
explain
don't
that.
know.
It's using computers and energy, electricity to solve problems, to create those coins. When I say my lights aren't dimming, it's simply a simple way of saying the strain on the electric grid is nugatory. Keith, you
Well,
say it in more detail.
the currency of mining Bitcoin is known as hash power. So there's all these people, like a company called Ant Miner, that sells devices that use like 3,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, and they have a hash power, which is they can search for a secret key at very high rates of attempts per second, and whoever wins the race finds the key, gets the Bitcoin in the block, which I think, if I remember rightly, is like 7 Bitcoins, which is 350K in today's Bitcoin price. So one block found is 350K. These mining machines cost 10 to 15K right now. And they use a lot of electricity. Each one uses a lot of electricity. So mining is the word used for cracking a code, basically. And if you crack the code, you get what's inside the Easter egg, which is the Bitcoin. And you, the miner, then can sell that onto the market. And that's how Bitcoin supply grows.
So it's just
Got
basically
everything
using-
except Easter egg. What does that mean inside the Easter egg?
Well, the block, it's called a block. If you find a block, you own the block as a miner. And so miners are finding blocks and owning them. And each block has a certain number of Bitcoin in. I've actually forgotten how many. It's either 7 or 9 or something like that. And because one single Bitcoin is worth 50K, a year ago, a single Bitcoin was worth less than 20K. So these miners, the algorithm to find the block gets harder and harder over time. So they have to throw more and more power at finding the block, which is just, by the way, is just dumb strength. It's like how many attempts can you make in a short period of time, and the winner will be the one that makes the most attempts over the long run. And so back in the early days, you could attempt to find a block, and a quite low-powered machine would find a block in an hour. Today, a really, really high-powered machine might only find a block once a month.
You got that, Brent?
So basically, because these superpower machines use a lot of energy, people are complaining about that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, almost anything we got to be using a lot of energy for almost so many different things beyond that. I mean, that doesn't sound like a big deal.
Well, exactly. I mean, what would you rather use the energy for? This show or getting a Bitcoin?
Oh,
Well.
don't go there. Don't go there.
But you can, by the way, purchase incremental pieces of a Bitcoin up to 10 pounds, I think, at a transaction, and do it every week. There are all sorts of schemes available out there right now to get you into the crypto world.
Well, that's the interesting thing about Bitcoin is it's infinitely divisible. So there's a currency called Satoshis. Every Bitcoin has, if I'm not mistaken, 20 million or something Satoshis. I might be wrong on the number, so viewers correct me, but it's a lot. And Satoshis are divisible. So ultimately, 21 million Bitcoins doesn't mean you've got 21 million units of exchange. You can have billions, if not trillions of units exchange, all of which are fractional parts of a Bitcoin.
But all of which is ultimately usable as a currency of exchange in more and more every day.
And it could also decimate people's lives on GameSpot or whatever Robinhood scenario. I
It's
mean,
funny, what do we think the GameStop guy, CEO leaving right at this time, and about their decision to take their business online, which I think is kind of interesting. Have you heard all that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess
GameStop.
not.
GameStop has just.
I mean, I know what
announced-
GameStop is.
Yeah, they announced that they were going to, because they're pretty famous as a brick and mortar business, that they're going to migrate a tremendous amount of their business online, which is, I'm not suggesting is a bad idea. I'm just saying, have you heard about that?
He means the
Um,
company GameStop, which has stores.
Yeah,
Is going to
Right. They're virtualizing it because we're in this pandemic thing.
Well-
yes, and because it's the right thing to do anyway.
Also because why wouldn't you? You'd have
Yes.
to be nuts. You'd have to be
Yeah.
nuts not to digitize any e-commerce play.
Which I think is kind of funny, that it was preceded by all of these wise and sage and folks buying options on Robinhood of GameStop and AMC. Thought that was interesting, the sort of the progression of that.
So AMC is a network that had Mad Men on it, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so
but it's also.
what is their current value proposition?
I think that they were talking a lot about, I think, the AMC picture houses. Yes, no, I'm not sure. Michael, are you familiar with that? What
Yeah.
what were they buying when they were buying AMC on Robinhood? What AMC were they buying?
Oh, I don't know. I presume it was the picture houses, not the American movie classics channel.
Yes,
Oh,
or
it
the
was the
TV
picture
network.
houses.
Either I did. What's that?
It was the picture houses.
Yeah,
Okay, so they're basically handicapping the ability of the new normal to include going to the movies.
Well, what they were really doing was trying to hand the shorts their ass, and
Right.
so there was a political or FU kind of motive behind it, and that still exists. It's kind of an young anarchist FU movement, saying the financial system is itself fixed, so we en masse can screw you over because you're fixing the system anyway.
It's anti-fixing.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically turning the establishment's strategies and techniques against itself.
And Dogecoin is the most amazing. Dogecoin, both Mark Cuban and Elon Musk have kind of got on the bandwagon. It's at 25 cents today. I think if you look back in time, it wasn't that long ago. It was at 2 cents or 1 cent even.
Right, but about a week ago was what, 35?
It went to 44. It's been as high
So
as 44.
Where
So
did that money go to?
It went to whoever sold at the top, as all speculative, that's also true of Apple shares, if they crash, or any shares that crash.
so I want to be told by somebody who invented the name Dogecoin, or could it be possible that it's Dog E Coin because their logo is a dog? I don't. Seriously, anybody have an answer to that?
Apparently not.
I'm sure the
Part
Google
of the
has.
joke.
It was
I just-
created by an IBM software engineer
he's not
called
that funny.
Billy Marcus and Jackson Palmer.
Dogecoin features the face of Shiba Inu, the dog.
There you go. That's one that
So it is a dog. Dogecoin
Yeah.
is a dog,
I've been saying that. Dennis knows.
and
That's
and
right.
its and,
So
and its
it's-
logo is a dog.
So
it's-
moving from the high value portion of the show,
The dog E coins.
Hey,
So-
I got one. Has anybody seen that new documentary on Hulu about WeWork?
I started it. I got bored with it.
What a mess.
Is it WeWork or the documentary? Or both?
The
Both, I
documentary.
guess. Yeah.
No, wait, Brent, is it the documentary or
Yeah,
WeWork?
the documentary kind of got boring.
Okay.
But
But
WeWork, I had no idea what was going on over there, and how much of it was being driven by, I don't know what you call it. That the co-founder Adam Newman, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Charlatan.
I don't know. That's like, that would give charlatans a bad name.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. He got,
Well,
somehow he got this thing valued at $47 billion on like nothing. I mean, he was able to get high wealth people involved, like, and they just bought into his nonsense. I can't. There's no other way to explain how much he was able to get this valuation as high as it did before they had to turn in their S1. And once they turned in the S1, it was like the gig was up. I mean, people are like, how in the hell did they get this level of valuation?
Yeah,
but isn't
know
this
what?
a case of
Theranos.
being a little too early? I mean, if you look at what's happening now, as companies emerge from the pandemic, they're moving to. I mean, what is going to happen to? We've talked about this on the show in the past. What's going to happen to all those buildings in downtown Manhattan that you're next to? They're going to become collaboration centers. They're going to become, what's the fundamental word for sharing office space? I've forgotten it. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. I mean, so
Well,
that used to be a
I
unique
think-
idea, but at this point, it's going to become a commonplace idea.
I think
It's a
partially you're
commodity
right.
idea.
Partially, you're
Yeah.
right, Steve. It is early, but the thing that WeWork had was this amazing evangelism and the story they told about a new kind of communal sense of caring and sharing for each other and working not just for yourselves but for the community. I mean, it was a story. It was a great narrative, and it had a great pitchman, and a lot of people bought into the messianism of it.
Have
You know,
ever been-
nobody would have said
Who you
anything
know?
about it.
Who's been in one? Who's been in a WeWork?
I have. No,
I think I was in one.
I drove
Never-
past it.
Really, the one I was in London was really good. I was only there for a week, but it was really good. And
They're all
it was-
really good. They're all
they
really
are.
good.
And if there had not been a pandemic, the WeWork folks would have ridden this out and just gotten bigger and bigger.
Are
and
you
bigger.
sure? I think that they were under severe stress before the pandemic.
Well, let
Yeah, I
me
think so.
They
introduce.
were actually.
Let me
Yeah.
let me introduce a concept which, Brent, this will help you at least understand what the logic was. There's a thing in investing called a J curve, which I'm guessing most of us would be familiar with what a J curve is. A J curve is
No.
uh,
Don't even know.
so
You could get a ticket for that in New York.
okay, so this line represents zero, and any investment it goes below zero, equal to the amount of money you invest. And these days it can go very deep because investors will write very large checks if they think that curve at a certain point goes like this. So it's basically the amount of investment you make for a future upswing.
Okay, so continue with what you were saying now that I understand you.
So WeWork was being funded on a very, very large J curve. I can't remember how much it raised in total, but it was billions.
I think it was, they got $4 billion from that one bank, right?
SoftBank.
Yeah, SoftBank, right?
So even if they raise 10 billion, that isn't out of whack if it will return 100. And 100 not in revenue, but 100 in company value, which means about 10 billion in revenue. So if 10 billion in investment can produce 10 billion in revenue, that's a great investment. It's a 10x upside. So these days, the way venture capital is evolved, there's a massive amount of late stage investors, SPACs is part of it, writing very large checks on the downside of the J curve so that the upside can happen. and sometimes they get it right, other times they don't. I think Steve's intuition that WeWork might have been timing. Obviously he didn't know about the COVID or the pandemic, so he never could have known that. But it probably would have been okay in time anyway, because he was owning property and getting revenue from it. And if you look at the economics of a building, a real estate building, they have a 10-year economics buildings. Over 10 years, he probably would have made money on those buildings.
Yeah, but he was also doing things like changing the definition of what earnings were to make it look more valuable what they were doing.
Yeah,
Like
so that's a separate.
He created something called community EBITDA as opposed to the traditional EBITDA, which would
You
allow
can't-
him to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but you can't do that. You can't do that. There's a thing called FASB, and under accounting
Yeah.
laws, all of that stuff gets out of the system before investors get pitched it. So that's like marketing. But once you,
Well, that's all this guy was: evangelism and marketing. I mean, he basically
Also
had
called rapper.
Yeah, it sounds like Trump.
yeah, but it's not sophisticated investors don't buy that. I mean, you see right through
So
it.
they buy NFTs.
You got to watch this. You got to watch this documentary
They buy
because
Donald Trump.
that guy from SoftBank, who was raising, I think he said he had $100 billion fund.
Yeah, they're called the Vision Fund.
Right. He coached this guy out of $4 billion.
They've also got a second Vision Fund, by the way, and it's making massive money. They bought Sprint. So you've got to understand that from SoftBank's point of view, WeWork is a small blip in a very successful fund.
Yeah,
$1 billion.
there's if you go back in American history, you can see this kind of thing repeating itself again and again, whether it's buying Western lands or buying swampland in Florida or buying desert in Arizona or farmland in Oklahoma. Those things all work for a little while and then blow up. And it's just amazing to me. I talk about grift a lot these days, but it's amazing to me that the real estate industry, as our 45th president, who must not be named as an exemplar, is the real estate industry is just full of grift and grifters.
Well, look at Amazon and Bezos.
Willing to rent you something, willing to rent you your own stuff back.
Dennis, if you think about Amazon and Bezos, Amazon's J curve lasted more than 2 decades under the zero line because they never took profit. They reinvested it all. So they never returned profit to their investors for the longest time, and still don't sometimes today. And that's a completely valid way to grow. So,
I mean, most of the companies on NASDAQ are probably like that. You go as far back in the tech sector as you want, and you see companies that plowed every penny back into the business and did not give their shareholders any profits. The shareholders made money strictly on the appreciation of the value of the stock because the stock grew. I got no problem with that. I mean, Bezos had to create a huge infrastructure, and that business sucked a lot of cash down. I applaud him for that.
And he put it out, and he put that in every of those shareholder letters. Their intent was to always do that. He never hid the fact that they were going to plow all their resources back into creating this customer obsessive culture and ecosystem and foundation around it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it came true. Yeah.
I go pretty far back in the tech industry, as I'm sure all of you do, and I distinctly remember Digital Equipment Corporation never paid a dividend. They just kept plowing it back and made it a great company, a huge company by current standards. So I don't know. I look at real estate. I look at something like WeWork, and I just say, well, it's just the latest example of somebody putting a grift together.
I think the critique really is of him. He was not a nice guy. He was a liar. He was using
All about him,
money
too.
that wasn't his own to.
He could have run for president.
Yeah, but
He
but I
did.
don't
He
think that
just was in a different body.
But I don't think the WeWork project was necessarily doomed to failure. If you look at pets.com back in the bubble and now look at Chewy that delivers dog food, everything that was pets.com now works. It didn't work then because
Didn't Amazon buy those guys?
Yes.
Shoot, they
Yeah,
bought
Amazon.
Chewy.
Yeah,
Well, I thought they bought
I
Pets.com before.
think they
that.
bought them both, actually.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Let's go once around the table.
A great show. It was a pleasure to be here, making an impact.
You should put the lower third up now.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
because if I do,
I-
Tina's going to move it. Tina won't show it. There you go, Tina. This is just for you.
right. Going once around the horn or table is not about congratulating yourself. It's about bringing up something that we then never get to in succeeding shows that sounds really interesting. How's that?
That works.
That's
No,
so much
okay.
pressure.
So they could have been.
So take two, Keith.
Africa's getting kind of interesting. 2 new venture funds in Africa this week, and lots of predictions that Nigeria is going to become the 3rd most populous country on earth before 2050. So lots of interesting Africa-related stories.
What's the population right now? Just out of curiosity.
I have to look that up, but I think it's in the hundreds of millions.
Well, don't spend too many Bitcoins on that search.
Oh, that's an
It is
awful lot of opportunities.
201 million, and it's going to end up being about 800 million to a billion.
Wow.
That's a good reason to get some Bitcoin mining done, Brent.
Which camera? Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
camera.
Yeah, but that doesn't count either, Frank.
But if each of them
No, no.
was a
no.
Bitcoin miner, and so on and so on, that's my point.
Yeah, and once around the table,
Oh, where were we with that? By the way,
we're on number 2. We started with Keith, and he
Okay.
survived the ordeal, and now it's your turn.
I'd like to thank Keith today for saying all these absolutely spectacularly wonderful things. Keith, you're the man. That's it.
You're just going to force me to come back to you at the end.
That was it.
You got nothing?
I'm so tired I can barely stay awake.
That works. Dennis.
At some point we should dedicate a show to sustainability. There are a lot of things to talk about. There are a lot of investments that could be discussed and why they might work and why they might not work. As far as population is concerned, I'd only say that Earth has a carrying capacity of 10 billion people. We're at about 7.5 billion right now. I pity any country that doesn't have good running water and infrastructure if it's going to be the 3rd most populous country on the planet by mid-century. That's a catastrophe in the making.
Michael.
Yeah.
There is a category of Talmudic law that I think covers a lot of what we talked about today.
Is it
And
called
that is-
chutzpah?
And that's the law of buying and selling things which do not yet exist in the world. What they had in mind was not venture funds, but for instance, if you order a bespoke suit, if you buy a house from somebody and you ask them to build it for you, it doesn't exist at the time you buy it. So the whole business of pitching ventures that don't yet exist in the world goes back a long, long way.
Hmm.
Okay, and Brent.
I would love to talk about at some point, are we just doing too damn much? Are we trying to put out so much content and information that sometimes it just feels like we're putting out more than they're taking in? I'm constantly, maybe this is just a personal thing for me. Like, am I doing too much live streaming, or am I doing too much posting about whatever it is I'm doing? Because there's no shortage of that. Everybody seems to be doing more of that than actually, consuming or highlighting other good works. And I think Dennis touched on this a little bit. It just feels like what you when you're able to put your newsletter together, it's not just about you putting out more and more of your stuff. It's about you highlighting, things that you've seen that you think is good for others to share and to know about. I don't know. It seems like, at least it feels like most people are putting out more than they're doing that other part. And I'm just wondering, are you guys feeling that too, or is that something we can discuss?
Well,
I
let's
would love
discuss
to
that
discuss
briefly.
that. Huh?
Let's discuss that. Go
I
briefly.
would love to discuss that in a future show. I think you're absolutely right. There was a concept introduced by Buckminster Fuller in the 1960s that ended up being called the knowledge doubling curve. And he said that if you took all of human knowledge up to the year 1500 and called that one, how long did it take to double that amount of knowledge? It only took 250 years. And the next doubling only took 125 years. We're now at the point, according to a study I saw from IBM, where the knowledge doubling curve is now down to 11 hours.
Jeez.
It's support of your point, Brett. So there's just so much, too much.
Well, where's the knowledge to be able to consume that?
Very good question. Very good
It's
question.
time too.
Hmm?
What?
It's not just knowledge, it's time.
Yeah, but what are the apps that are going to be designed to help us, triage this onslaught?
Voice.
I don't know how they exist, because
Voice
knowledge.
is even less manageable because it's serial. You can't search it. You can't.
Yes.
You
I
can't.
think that's what all the voice techs are working on.
Well,
How are they going to do that?
Knowledge
I
by
don't know,
definition
but
is what's
that's
in
what
your
they're
head.
doing.
What? I couldn't hear you, either of you.
Go ahead, Frank.
I was just saying, I don't know how it works, but I know that's what everyone is working on. So, to make voice the ultimate UX,
It's voice
you
to
have to.
it's
Go
voice
ahead.
the voice to text indexing and search, linking the words back to the point in the audio so you can drill down. It's not. Otter already does it.
It's already being gated by analytics. If you know through analytics that everybody on this call has already seen this, we don't have to talk about it.
But it doesn't put it away forever. It just sticks it back on the shelf until somebody wants that kind of information, and it delivers that information to them.
Yeah, but if you're in a meeting, a virtual meeting or whatever, and the goal of the meeting is to make a decision about something, if you can plow through the available information and the attitudes as rendered by the individuals in the meeting, you can make a decision. You don't have to read. I don't have to read everything that Keith knows, because I can take advantage of Keith being in the room. And if he doesn't say anything, we're good. Same thing with Dennis. Same thing with all you guys.
That's because we are throwing out too much information all the time.
I disagree. I
Well,
think
See how I brought it right back to you?
I don't know.
no,
if
I
there's-
don't actually.
I don't know if
Oh.
the concept of too much information only makes sense when you can't find what you're looking for, or what you find interesting. So, democratization ultimately means everyone has a voice, and that's a good thing, right? So
Can be
if
a good
everyone has
thing.
a voice, there's bound to be lots of noise and less signal for you specifically. And so you need things that help you find the signal. And to Steve's question about what will do that, it has to be a combination of knowing you and alerting you. That's
So I have a company that doesn't exist that solves this problem.
Maybe you could raise a few $1 billion. Turn
Yeah,
it into
or-
a concept.
It's all about marketing, Steve.
Michael, last thoughts.
Last thoughts. I will put a link into the app of a good compendium of the data on energy consumption on Bitcoin mining.
And by
country.
app, you mean what?
The Gilmore Gang Telegram app.
Ah,
t.me/Gilmore Gang, viewers. t.me/Gilmore Gang.
and Gilmore is with 2 L's and there's no E on the end.
You
Or
should
in
put
the
that up
middle.
all the time in the lower right-hand corner.
There's no Z either.
That's true. Or 3
Right,
or
boys.
any
Q.
other
Gangs.
odd character.
Or S?
Gilmore's gangs.
Actually, if
Yeah,
if anyone who
use
has
guys.
trouble, anyone who has
Guys,
trouble can
use.
just. Oh, sorry.
Nope.
I was going to say
Hey,
anyone who
hey.
has trouble remembering how to spell it can just go to t.me/ggx, and it's the same stream.
That's not true, actually.
Pretty much the same.
No,
almost.
pretty much is, that's the difference between the 45th president and the 46th one.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. I want to thank our producer and director, Tina Chase Gilmore.
Thank you. Thank you all.
I want to thank Keith Tier. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
I'd like to thank Dennis Pombriant.
Pleasure. Thanks. See you next Friday.
Ah, good move there. Brent Leary, thank you.
Thank you.
When does the Prince album ship?
July. I think July 28th.
Ooh.
Pre-order has been in for a month.
I put the single in the upcoming Gilmore Gang newsletter, which you can
Nice.
see the lower third.
Welcome to America.
Yeah, that one. It's pretty good. It grows on you. Thanks to Michael Markman.
Thank you. And thank all of you.
And thanks for actually showing up and figuring out how to log in from New York. It's Frank Radis.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I'm still jet lagged. I find myself getting up at 2:30 in the morning and being wide awake. And starting on that stupid newsletter, which is taking up too much of my time, and it's a lot of work. No, I love it. It's a part of my life now. And I'm so jet lagged. I'm sorry. Everything is funny to me right now.
Well, I'm pandemic lagged, and it's been a pretty funny show. Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I gotta go. I really am gonna pass out. I'm gonna see you guys.